welcome. I invite you to take a minute or two to settle, and we'll begin with a short breathing exercise. So simply sit back, be comfortable, bring your attention to your breathing. That's always going on. Let's simply notice the air going in and coming out. Just noticing however shallow or deep the breathing is in this moment. Anything that may be coming up, feelings, sensations, just noticing it, observing it. And coming back to the breath, no matter what happens around us, whether it's the thoughts, sounds. And let's take 3 cleansing breaths. With each breath, go slightly more deeper as you breathe in than normal. And with each breath out, let go a little more than usual. It helps make sound breathing in, like, and makes a sigh sound as you breathe out. Each breath, breathing in more, and each breath out, letting go a little more. And next, let's let the breathing go back in its natural mode. And let's make an intention in your own mind, in your own words. Tell your body, mind, shutting down the door of whatever you're sitting, and say, I make intention, I commit to putting all my things to do for next 45 minutes or so. I will come back to life. I will come back to whatever I need to do today. But right now, I am going to focus. I am present. And I will make the best use of this time for my growth, for my rewiring my mindset, for achieving my goals. Everything else can wait. And with that, let's come back, open our eyes if you have them closed, slightly moving your body left to right, or your fingers or toes. So welcome to our New You program again, the 12-week program, which is to help all of us set and achieve our goals, resolutions, and what I'll say really teams. We are now in week 3, and today's focus is going to be overcoming our blocks and fears. We've already done 2 weeks. We got started. We have worked on our purpose and values and the why behind whatever we set out to do. We have told ourselves that it's important to not just pick a goal that I'll do X 3 times a week or 5 times a week, but connect with the why behind it. Why am I doing it? Peel back the layers. Connect with that feeling of what you will want to be in 12 weeks. And when we do that, often many things will come up, such as blocks, such as fears, or our limiting beliefs. And that's what we will be working on today. So some of the actions that we have taken, again, importance of getting a diary, a notebook, a journal, whatever you want to, whatever you're comfortable with, even minimum a piece of paper, and writing it out, taking action. We have written Welcome 2023. We have written our resolution or your goals or really a theme, right? And written that I can. We all are motivated. Thank you for showing up today again. You all are taking steps And those steps are coming because you are going from I can't to I can. Start repeating that. I can. Start repeating I will, or I'm committed. Again, a reminder to read it as many times as you can in a day. Ideally at night before you go to sleep. Again, when you wake up, have it on your desk, have it by your bed. And every time you do that, you're rewiring, you are choosing, you're making a choice, you're using that power that each one of us has. So last week, we worked on your purpose or starting to ask why you're doing so. Hopefully you did that. You had some ideas on what you're doing and why you're doing it. And why are you being called to do so? What's your nagging? Mandy led us through a wonderful session. Today, the question is, what is coming up that is stopping you? So I'll give you an example. If my nagging is to make more videos and starting to put out more content, one of my fears or blocks that comes up is there's already millions of videos out there. There's people who are so good. They have so many subscribers. What if I do this and no one watches it, right? What if I look terrible? Those are my fears, right? And it's important to notice, again, go back to the why. And my why, I'll give you an example. My why is so that I can become more confident, I can share more, I can apply more, and with the hope that it will help one person or few people. And again, if I know my why, then it will help me get out of bed. It will help me make that next video, however good or not it is, because it helps me improve and make that better. So let's do a simple exercise right now. Take action. I would like you to open your diary, notebook, journal, and go to your purpose statement, whatever you wrote. If you've not written it, now is a perfect time. Write down, I am going to do this in 12 years, if you have not already written it. And write down a word or two on why you are being called to do so. If you've already written it, read that. What is your why behind being healthy, being confident, doing self-love, whatever you have picked for the theme for this 12 weeks. And as you're reading it, connect with that nagging that you're wanting to do so, that feeling of, I am ready, I need to do this. And further, I invite you to close your eyes if you like, but see where in your body or mind or thoughts you're feeling that there's that hesitation, what I'll call it, of I can't do this, or whatever in your own words is coming up. Think of the word blocks, think of the fears, think of limiting beliefs, and give it a label. So find that word or an image or that body tightness and give it a word and write that down in this moment. Okay. So having written that down, we will work on canceling it out. We'll share with you some techniques on how to move past. I shared with you one quote about 2 weeks ago, which was that action is something on how we can go beyond the fear. It requires courage. Courage is walking over the fear. So with that, let's start with a little bit of a stretching. So let's find a nice standing posture, moving from left to right. Have your feet parallel, bend your knees, planting the feet. Balance yourself. And let's simply start with bringing your palms in front of you, breathing in, stretching your arms up, and breathing out, simply letting go. And let's do it 2 more times at your own pace. Slow down your breathing, slow down your stretches. Feel the stretch and breathing out, let go. One more time. Every step, with every action, you are taking a step forward. Take a pause. Let's do one more stretch, this time bringing your palms in front of you. Simply breathing in. As you breathe in, raise your palms up. And as you breathe out, let go. Again, it has been proven again and again in scientific studies, when we slow down our breathing, we release tension, anxiety. We come in the present moment. Something magical happens. Breathing in, connecting with the breath, connecting with the little action that you're taking in that micro moment. Let's take a pause. Next, let's take a fist or a flat palm. Start from our fingers and start tapping. If you've never done this before, you can think of waking up your body, you're getting the energy to flow. You're releasing tension, opening up the blockages. You can do it slow, fast. You can spend more time, less time. Work with your body, know your limitations and conditions. Be as simple as a little tap or a harder tap. And lastly, we'll shake it off. Either just arms back and forth and shaking it, or bending your knees, breathing in and letting go. And with that, let's come back to our chairs, mats, sofa, wherever you can be comfortable. All right, so with that, the quote and affirmation I have for us for this week related to our topic is that to live a creative life, we must lose our fear of being wrong. One of the things that comes up, and the way I can relate that as an example, is whenever I want to do something more like the video examples I gave you, often what comes up is, what if I'm wrong? What if this doesn't work? And that's a fear, right? And to move beyond that, we have to lose that. So one of the ways you can do that is using affirmations. And one affirmation is, I let go of my fear, or I take a step, whatever words resonate with you. And with that, I'm going to now introduce our guest speaker, Jenna, who is a hypnotherapist. She's a wellness coach.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here live or listening to this recording later. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here. I'll share my screen so that we can continue chatting about blocks and fears. Okay. Perfect. So yeah, thank you so much, Jazz, for having me here. And I'm really excited to talk about this, just because this feels very pertinent in my own life and very pertinent in my own creative journey. And at the end of today's session, we'll be doing a gratitude meditation together, which is one of my favorite areas to meditate in. So I think we'll all really enjoy it. So this is a picture of me with green juice, because I love green juices, and it's just, I think, a very bright and sunny picture. The quote that I wanted to share with you all was, "Peace does not dwell in outward things, but within the soul." I think this is a really good reminder that although we are grateful for the things that are happening around us, the people that we have, I think it's really special to be grateful for the forces that come from within us, the skills that we acquire, the perseverance, and all of the amazing traits that we also share, and our ability to be present. So we'll definitely talk about that more. So I'm a big nature lover. I think it's a really huge part of my sort of ability to be present and clear-minded whenever possible. I'm an artist and a writer, and I love being creative. And I will definitely be talking about why this topic is so resonant to me, especially as a writer and as a very sensitive person, which I think is a superpower. And I'm a big meditator. So of course I'm a hypnotherapist, but today I'll be doing a meditation with you. And there's definitely a difference between doing hypnosis and meditation. If that's something you're curious about, we can definitely talk about that in the future as well. But yeah, I consider myself sort of a wellness mentor and a wellness coach. And my goal is to have very candid, open, and beautiful conversations with folks, whether it be my family, my friends, or people that I'm working with directly. I think that when we approach life with acceptance and curiosity, we're able to come up with solutions that feel good for us. And that'll definitely be related to how we can address our blocks and our fears. Okay, perfect. So as we mentioned, today is overcoming blocks and fears. And sort of the first affirmation that I want to share with you, I want to sort of get in your subconscious mind, get you thinking, is it's safe to face your fears through acceptance and curiosity. And then if you were to say that to yourself, you would say, it's safe to face my fears through acceptance and curiosity. So why don't we just all take a really quick moment, plant our feet or get ourselves grounded, take a nice cleansing breath, and say to ourselves, it's safe to face my fears through acceptance and curiosity. And just let that linger. I felt some tingling in my hands. I felt sort of this excitement. And let's dive right in. So there are 3 areas of focus that we are going to address today. We're going to talk about a little bit more about values and sort of bringing that topic over from last week. And we're going to share why values can be an antidote to our fears. So this is one of my favorite techniques and reframes to work through fears and blocks. It's becoming friendly and becoming familiar with your fears. And I think you all will really enjoy this process. And then finally, learning how to take micro steps to overcome blocks and fears. And this is exactly what was mentioned at the beginning of today's session. And this is something that the more you think about it and the more you think about doing it, the more you'll actually be able to take those steps. But micro steps are so much easier to approach and they're easier to conceptualize than maybe the huge goal that you have. So it's a really great companion to your visions and your dreams if you can have those smaller steps to work on, and it gives you something to check off the box. So let's start with our first concept, which is values are antidotes to fears. And when you think about an antidote, that's like, a medicine you take if you were sick. And so essentially it is a direct serum, or it's a direct way to approach your fears, is to approach them through your values. And I also like to think about mapping your fears to your values. And I'll give you a couple of examples to kind of get your wheels a-turning. So for example, if courage is one of your values, if being a courageous person is one of your core values, you could map the value of courage to the fear of failure. Or you could look at courage as the antidote to the fear of failure. Because courageous people, or folks that embody courage, are not afraid to fear in the sense that they are willing to let themselves fail. They're willing to let themselves have low engagement, or to not get the job, or to not get all the views on the post, or to not get the date, right? Like, so let's say your fear of failure is embedded in your creative journey. A courageous person would still go out and write the articles or work on the videos. Another example would be authenticity. So if you have the fear of perfectionism, or the block of perfectionism, or you're experiencing creative blocks, or you're having a hard time actually sitting down and recording the videos, or writing the articles, or working on the plot, whatever your creative task is, authenticity is an amazing value to amplify, because authentic people will work on those projects regardless of the outcome. They are willing to put themselves out there. They're willing to post messy content, or content that isn't perfectly edited, because they know that that authenticity is what brings people to watch their content, or they know that authenticity is how they connect with other people. And so if courage and authenticity, for example, are values that you desire, values that you put on your list, but maybe you're struggling to feel that full embodiment, there's definitely nothing wrong with you. I just want to reiterate, wherever you are in your journey is absolutely perfect. But when you learn to take steps in the footsteps of someone who's courageous or authentic, or has authenticity, then you'll start to actually embody those values more. And we'll get more on that topic a little bit later. I just want to kind of start previewing it and starting to get you to think about it. So before you're even taking any steps, you can think about, how do my values map to my fears? How can my values be the antidotes for my fears and my blocks? And so that's where curiosity comes into play, or exploration. So through that curiosity, you can learn which of your core values can help you address the blocks that no longer serve you. So the next area that I want us to talk about is this idea of becoming familiar and friendly with your fears or blocks. So what does this mean, and how can this help you in your value-driven life journey? Becoming familiar with your fears is learning to face them. So when you say familiar, it means you're willing and you're able to face these fears or address them. So I think a lot of times when we are dealing with our fears, it is something that we want to push down in our bodies, or push down in our minds, and just suppress and ignore and forget about it. But that actually gets stuck as energy in our bodies, and that manifests as blocks in our brains, in our minds. So when we're not facing our fears, we're definitely not moving that energy out of us by any means. But that's okay, because there's plenty of things that we can learn to do over time that can help us actually move that energy. So to become familiar with your fears is to recognize what they are. And that is what we were doing earlier with that session of writing down a word or a sensation that relates to your fear. So there's so many different tools that you can actually use to address your fears and to familiarize yourself with them in a very safe and very explorative way. And so if you do want to get familiar with your fears, and you do want to understand maybe where they're coming from or what value that they have, you can look at tools like journaling and meditation to ask questions. And you only have to ask the questions that are going to make sense for what you want to do in your life, right? Like, you don't have to dig into the fears to make yourself feel bad, or to feel scared, or to feel frustrated. We want to approach these fears in a very open, explorative, and comforting way, so that we feel like we are in control of the situation. We feel present with the experience, but we're able to sort of dig and ask those questions. So some of those questions might be, when did this start? Why do I believe this fear to be true? Is this fear aligned with my goals or values? So when we ask questions like this, we're asking more about the purpose of the fear versus you know, why it's been lingering as long as it has, or whatever. But I think understanding when fear starts is a lot more important than why the fear has been going on as long as it has. Because usually you understand why the fear is going on as long as it has. It's because it's still stuck, or it's still something that you're dealing with. But if you can get to the root cause, that can provide you a little bit more information on tools that you can use to actually overcome it. As mentioned before, you can also learn where in your body the fear sits. And that can be done through meditation, that can be done through somatic work, that can be done through yoga, it can be done through exercising. And that's something that allows you to learn how to lean greater into your body cues so that you can help yourself move that energy out of your body. And remind yourself it's totally normal to feel fears or to have blocks, and that you're in control. So I have fears and blocks in my life. I've had fears and blocks in my life my entire time that I've been in existence, but I've also learned how to work through the fears and the blocks that have prevented me from the things that really light me up or the goals that I've set. So I think it's a balance of working through those fears and then accepting them for being there in the first place, because sometimes it's not our fault that they're there, or more importantly, they're part of our subconscious mind, and our subconscious mind, its number one goal is to keep us safe. So if we think about it from the lens of safety, and then we're in control of our safety, we're in control of sort of the steps that we take that fear and we sort of look at it in a different lens, and it doesn't have as much power as we think it does, which is a really huge reframe. So then the concept of becoming friends with your fears is learning to accept them. I really believe that acceptance is alchemy. I think when you learn to accept yourself exactly where you are, when you learn to accept the fears and the blocks exactly as they are, you take this weight off your shoulders, and all of a sudden you look at the human that you are, you look at the soul having a human experience, or however, you view it, and you realize that this is part of what it means to be a human or to live life. And sometimes you might even smile when you accept yourself, and you might even feel that shift in your perspective. So I think when you can really learn to lean into the value of acceptance, it helps open the gates, and it helps release some of that energy so that you can mark forward and start making steps and taking steps and making those action items be taken off your list. So we'll definitely talk about that more. Acceptance says it's okay to have these fears, and in fact, they help you strengthen your relationship with your values. Your fears help you strengthen your relationship with your values. I think that's a really cool way to look at their purpose. All fears and blocks serve a purpose. Allow yourself to go inward to illuminate that purpose, to find a different way to satisfy that purpose, and then to release that block or to release that fear. And learning to express gratitude for the way that these fears have helped you. Thank you, Creative Block, for allowing me to go inward to learn that I am an unlimited creative soul and that I deserve to share my work with the world. Thank you, Creative Block, for allowing me to go through the process of self-discovery so that I have learned that I am deserving to share my work and that I'm deserving to be considered a writer and an artist. We're not saying thank you for keeping us small. We're saying thank you for allowing us to be curious about our lives, allowing us to look inward and to be thankful for everything that we've learned when dealing with these blocks and these fears. You can recognize your fears as a pathway to action. Remember your values. Allow them to illuminate the path to fearless action. Even the smallest of steps are massive and have a massive impact in your life journey. All right, so now we're going to talk about micro steps or micro actions. So I use the word micro to really, really mean teeny tiny steps. One of my, favorite quotes I recently saw on Twitter, it was someone talking about the idea of baby steps and how as adults or, young adults, we might think of baby steps as these teeny tiny steps. But a baby, their legs are very, very small. So every single one of those wobbly steps is actually massively significant and takes that child closer and closer to being able to walk fully. And so if you think about your own tiny steps in your life as massively impactful, that is a really wonderful way to look at the journey and look at the process. So once again, micro steps are very small actions that are in alignment with your values and goals. A lot of time we get caught up in the bigger picture of our goals that we forget about all of the small steps to get there. So for example, if your goal is to feel healthier, and maybe you have a very specific health-based goal, maybe it's to adopt a plant-based diet or adopt a gluten-free diet or eat paleo or whatever lifestyle that feels best for you. So maybe it is to adopt a more plant-forward diet. It can feel very easy to sort of fixate on, okay, well, my pantry has to be 100% plant-based and I have to buy all these ingredients and yada, 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 and then it can feel very overwhelming, right? Let's take a micro step or a micro action to that healthier lifestyle. So maybe the first week of your journey, your goals would be to prioritize cooking at home more, or prioritize going on a walk or doing other things that are related to a healthier lifestyle, versus saying, I have to transform my whole kitchen tomorrow. I have to be working out 5 times a week or whatever. So just taking those teeny tiny steps to get us to that bigger goal. Micro actions are the stepping stones of your purpose journey. When the actions become smaller, it becomes easier to conceptualize, track, and follow, especially if your goals feel scary or out of reach. And so for me, I'll share my story with why being purpose-driven is so important, especially as a writer. But just remember, anything is possible when you break it down into manageable tasks. And so it's just learning how to break it down, which is its own process in itself. So I want to talk about my story. So this is a picture of me. Hello. So I have mentioned that I'm a writer and an artist. And actually, the goal that I wrote down and the value that I was working on with this process is I want to write more. So I've been writing since I was a little kid, and I write pretty on the regular, but I want to write even more, and I want to eventually write a book or publish a book. And so I'm working on, the sphere of perfectionism. I'm working on the sphere of failure, but my values are gratitude, authenticity, courage, and also strength. So I was terrified to share my writing with the world. As I mentioned, I've dreamed of being an author since I was a little girl. I sort of got this conditioning of fear that everything I published had to be perfect. If I published anything online, it had to get 1 million views or thousands of views or whatever number. I was afraid that people would not take my work seriously, or that people would make mean comments. Lots of valid fears. Like, these are all valid fears, but they were holding me back from doing anything. I just didn't want to be criticized, and I didn't want to look bad, essentially. And I didn't want my feelings to be hurt, which is very hard. And I realized that in order to be a good writer, I had to write. In order to be a published author, I had to create things. I had to practice. And so this is where I started to understand my values. And I mentioned a few, like courage and strength and resilience. But I would say for this story, the 2 values that are most important that I learned to cultivate were authenticity and vulnerability. You might even notice that I have a very slight stutter, and that is something that I experience as an adult. And that is where authenticity is very important to me. Or publishing an article where it doesn't have a perfect grammar every time, or maybe I have to go back and edit it. Or maybe I publish an article or a blog about something that I'm really scared to share. Maybe it's a very personal story about my mental health or my experiences in the past. And that's where vulnerability is also really huge. Being vulnerable enough to recognize that I might get comments on my articles, or I might only get 10 views, or someone might not agree with it. But also being vulnerable enough to understand that people may love my work or follow my work and reach out to me, and authentic enough that people resonate with my story. So that's sort of the alchemy between the fear and the value. For me, it was, despite being afraid of being a failure or showing up and not looking good, or showing up and no one listening or reading my work, I'm going to authentically share my story. I'm going to authentically share what I know. I'm going to get vulnerable, and I'm going to face my fear, because I know that it'll help me grow, and it'll help me become a stronger writer, and it'll help me eventually write that book. And so that's kind of the process that I went through in my own life. And now I'm writing on a regular basis. I'm publishing articles whenever I have energy to, and I'm making sure that I stand up to what I believe in, even if I am afraid, because I know those fears will never completely disappear. But if I can have control over how I perceive them, it's going to help me grow. So what if we looked at our blocks and fears as welcome guests, as teachers, as illuminators, as breadcrumbs on life's divine journey? And maybe we also look at our fears and blocks as guests that we ask to leave, or guests that we ask to change. And then finally, what would happen if you approached your fears and blocks with gratitude? And that's going to be our segue into some more affirmations that are going to help us on this meditation today. So these are affirmations that you can use just by writing them down. You can use them in meditation. You can chant them. You can look at them on Post-it notes. But if any of these resonate and they feel aligned with your journey, this could be a really great way to start reframing around those fears. It's safe for me to grow. It's safe for me to become who I'm meant to be. It feels good to face my fears. When I grow, I reveal new versions of myself. Yeah, let me go back. Let you look at these for a moment. If any of these feel good, maybe you could write it down. I'll just repeat them one more time. It is safe for me to grow. It is safe for me to become who I'm meant to be. It feels good to face my fears. When I grow, I reveal new versions of myself. Wonderful. So let's recap the 3 areas that we talked about today in order to help us face our fears and overcome blocks in our lives. So remember, number 1, our values are antidotes to fear. And when we learn to map our values to our fears, we start to unearth solutions to overcome them. Learn to become friendly and familiar with your fears, which means learn to understand and face them, and learn to accept them, because acceptance is alchemy. And finally, take micro steps to overcome these blocks. Take the teeniest and tiniest and significant of steps, because every single small step that you do, whether it's going for a 10-minute walk, whether it's writing for 10 minutes in your journal, whether it's waking up an hour earlier, whether it's eating out one less time, or putting vegetables on your plate one more time, whatever that singular number is, that is going to add up to the significance of your journey. And you should feel proud of yourself, and you should celebrate those steps, because they're just as important as your big goals. Excellent. Well, thank you all so much for listening. And I would love to guide you through a very gentle and gratitude forward meditation. So if you haven't done so already, you can find somewhere comfortable for you to sit or lie down, or whatever feels best. I'm going to turn my camera off for the meditation. So find somewhere that it would feel good to be in a meditation. whatever position is calling to you, I recommend that you go with that. I think what's important to remember about meditating is that it should be in a way that feels approachable to you, and not just because someone has told you to do it a certain way. So I think illuminating your own personal journey and your own autonomy is really, really helpful when allowing yourself to get comfortable. So if it feels good to have your feet planted on the ground, allow yourself to feel rooted in such a way. If you're laying down or in a lounging position, allow your body to feel contact with the surface behind it. Now think about the word gratitude. Just think about that word in its simplest form. And think about a color that reminds you of gratitude. It could be any color in the world, any color that you love. Just allow it to remind you of gratitude. And if it feels good to you, I invite you to close your eyes or soften your gaze. And in a gentle way, allow your body to rest and relax a little bit deeper. I invite you to take 3 cleansing breaths. And if it helps you on each breath, you can imagine yourself blowing energy out of your body, blowing debris out of your body. And let's take a breath together, breathing in deeply. And when you're ready to exhale, exhaling out. Now just notice the current rhythm of your breath. Maybe it's a little faster, maybe it's a little slower. Just notice it, appreciate it. Allow your breath to take you even deeper into your relaxation. Now, thinking about the word gratitude and thinking about that color that you love that reminds you of the word gratitude. Imagine and visualize that color just fully taking over your landscape. Just imagine a pane of that bright cleansing color across you in your mind's eye or in your imagination. And as you take a few more deep breaths, think about this color gently washing through your body. This color of gratitude washing through your body from head to toe as you take a few more deep breaths. This color bringing that feeling of gratitude through your body, into your cells, into your subconscious mind, into your heart. So now your full body is embraced in this beautiful color of gratitude. Your full body is cloaked in this color. It feels warm. Maybe it feels cool. Maybe this color feels soft. Maybe this color feels like a pulsing sensation. Allow this color to ease any tension or any difficult feelings or sensations. Allow yourself to be fully present with the feeling. And now that you are cloaked in the feeling of gratitude, using your imagination or your mind's eye, imagine a flower growing out of the ground. This flower can look like any type of flower, but it is growing out of the ground and you're imagining it in your mind's eye. However, the color of this flower is different than the color of gratitude. And in fact, this flower, this innocent flower growing out of the ground, actually represents one fear or one block that you are looking to overcome or to release or to simply understand better. This single flower growing out of the ground of a color different than your color of gratitude represents a fear or a block that you're looking to release. So imagine this flower sitting there or growing there. And imagine yourself or feel yourself still illuminated and still flowing with that color and sensation of gratitude. Simply looking down at this flower, this simple, unthreatening flower. Looking at this flower, recognizing what it understands and recognizing what it means. Now looking at this flower, feeling the flows of gratitude through you. Allow yourself to thank this flower for its purpose. For example, if for me the flower was creative block, I would look at the flower and I would say, thank you, creative block, for the ways that you have helped me. Thank you, creative block, for the ways that you've helped me grow, the ways that you've helped me look inward, for the ways that you've helped me strengthen my values, however it feels best to say it. Simply think the flower representing your fear or block. Thank it for the ways it has helped you grow in the past, in the present, or even in the future. Thank this flower representing your fear or block. Thank it for strengthening your curiosity. Thank it for strengthening your ability to accept yourself. You can even thank it for helping you get closer to your goals. As you continue to thank this flower, notice how the colors of the petals or the colors of the plant start to change and become that same color of gratitude that is radiating around you. The more that you express this gratitude and thanks and acceptance for this flower, the more that it begins to change colors, maybe even change shapes, to take on the color and the sensation of gratitude. Allow yourself to sit with this flower, whatever color or shade it's landed on, whether it's completely changed to the color of gratitude, or maybe it's changed slightly. Whatever you are envisioning, or maybe you're sensing, or you are hearing is perfectly correct and perfect for your journey. So allow yourself to sit with the color of gratitude buzzing through your own body. The flower starting to transform, or that has completely transformed, representing the alchemy that comes from acceptance and gratitude. Imagining yourself feeling deeply calm, feeling yourself in your present body, deep in that same calmness. Allowing that sensation and lovely feeling of gratitude to flow through your whole body. I'm going to repeat a few affirmations that you can either repeat out loud or in your mind, or you can simply listen to them. It is safe for me to grow. It is safe for me to grow. It's safe for me to follow my goals. It's safe for me to follow my goals. It's safe for me to follow my goals. I am grateful for what my fears have taught me. I am grateful for what my fears have taught me. I'm grateful for what my fears have taught me. Take a nice deep breath in, letting out all the air slowly as it feels good for you. Allow yourself to start coming back to this room, coming back to your body, coming back to any sensation that feels good to you right now. Allow yourself to let out a few wiggles, a few stretches, a few body rolls, a few shoulder rolls, whatever feels best to you right now. And when the time is right, you can open your eyes, letting them flutter a little bit to bring you back to the natural light or the light of your bedroom or whatever light is coming through right now. And you can end, if it feels good, to place a hand over your heart to express gratitude to yourself for showing up today for this whole session, for listening and being present, and for participating in this meditation. Thank you all so much for joining me today, and I'm going to hand the mic back over to Jazz.
So at this time, I would like to invite you to again take a moment and write one or few words that came up during today's session or this wonderful meditation. You can share it in the chat or simply write it in your diary if you like, or journal or a piece of paper. Again, something magical happens when we label whatever we are feeling, and we use our power of choice by writing it down. As an example, if there was a fear that had come up earlier, like for me, as a personal example was, what if no one watches it? What if it's not good enough? I am going to cross that off and simply say the one word that resonated with me was take baby steps. Simple reminder that, for a baby, like Jenna said, every step that they take can be so significant in moving to whatever that next for the baby is standing up for, that may be. So please take a moment, write it down. And then in the closing, we'll also invite you that we've started a new podcast. I shared the link earlier in the chat. I'll share it again. If you didn't get a chance to watch it, please watch it on the why, where one of my colleagues shares his why behind him staying fit and staying running. And he makes a wonderful point that if he had made a goal of running 3 times or 5 times a week, he would have failed. And also he makes another point that he's quit hundreds of times, but yet he's been able to connect with his why on why he stays fit or why he runs and how he's changed his mindset. So it's a short 7-minute video. Watch that. And then in addition, we'll also release this week with Mandy, who was our last week's host, on her journey through purpose and values. So hopefully you'll enjoy that. And at the end, I'll leave you again with this wonderful quote and affirmation. To live a creative life, we must lose our fear of being wrong. And I loved how Jenna put it, that, having gratitude, connecting and thanking that fear, thanking that block. Matter of fact, gratitude is one of the most effective techniques in positive psychology that has been found. So definitely give it a try. Use this affirmation or any one of the affirmations that was given, or write it in your own words. As an example, I wrote down, when I grow, I reveal a new version of myself. So please do that. And at the end, I would like to thank Jenna again. I'll leave you with her information. Reach out to her. She's a wonderful coach. If you connected with her, follow her on Instagram. And we look forward to having you next week in the next session. Thank you. In the chat, I will again leave a link. Please take 1 minute of your time to give us feedback on what worked for you today, what we could do different. If you found this session beneficial, support us. You can donate any small amount that can go towards meetup.com, Zoom, etc. Again, and thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.